First, can I just say thank you to all of my supporters. We've actually reached 10,000 subscribers and I can't believe it. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Today, I'm going to show you a little something for Halloween. Now, if you're not used to using royal icing, then this is the tutorial for you. I take you through everything step by step. I haven't added a topper to this because it's just a quick tutorial for you guys, but you can add anything to it. Just imagine this with a really cute spider cake topper or a pumpkin. I'm going to show you how to do this very simple but effective spiderweb effect on all of your cakes. Happy baking and stay tuned for more new content. For the purpose of this tutorial, I am using a 6-inch round 4-inch deep cake dummy, which I'm going to treat like cake. To cover a cake of this size, you're going to need 500 grams of some jet black fondant, and as you can see here, I am using Renshaw's. Once you have kneaded your fondant, we're going to start by rolling it in between these 5mm spaces. This will just mean that our fondant stays exactly 5mm thick. Dust down your work surface, and whilst rolling out this fondant, try to keep it in a circular shape. Keep on picking it up and turning it around to prevent it from sticking to your worktop. In order to add this to your cake smoothly, simply drape it over your rolling pin and then gently place it onto your cake. I have already added a small amount of water to this cake dummy, so it acts like natural glue. Obviously your cake will be crumb coated. Once you have done this, it's then simply a case of taking your time and negotiating all of the pleats. Now, taking some smoothers, simply smooth around the edges of the cake, and then you want to cut off any excess fondant. I'm now just giving this one final smooth over, but then it will be going in the fridge even though it's a cake dummy, and I do this with all of my cakes. If your cake is lovely and cold, so is the fondant, and you will physically be able to lift it from the baking parchment and place it directly onto your decorated cake drum without causing any damage. Whilst that is in the fridge, I want to make a start on the cake drum. So here I have a 12-inch round cake drum, and I'm going to be using the Renshaw's orange fondant. I have my spaces just like before, and I'm simply going to roll it out and try and keep a lovely round shape, just like I did for the cake, and then place it directly onto the drum. Just in case you're unsure, to actually stick fondant to a cake drum, all you need is some cooled down boiled water, and then simply brush this over your cake drum. It's lovely and hygienic, and it gives the fondant something to adhere to. And when all that water evaporates, it will be stuck there permanently and it just won't go anywhere. That's the best way to do it. Again, I'm lifting this with my rolling pin to place directly over the drum. This is one of the best ways to lift fondant. You don't leave finger marks in that way. Then you want to take your smoother. Start by smoothing the tops. If it gets a little bit sticky, then you can just brush some icing sugar on there and go around the edges. Once you have done this, you just want to take a sharp knife and cut off any excess fondant before you smooth it out again. Another good tip for you, whilst the fondant is still soft, I use the base of one of my cake tins. So this is a 6-inch round base, the same size of the cake. Place it central on the board and then just use a knife to place an indentation in there. This way, when you do add the cold cake, because you do have to be relatively fast due to the sweating that can happen when you take it out of the fridge, you will know exactly where to place it. A good tip for all of you when you're baking your cakes. Now we're going to make our royal icing. Now here I have a raw egg white. I must point out, in the UK, we have the safest eggs in the world and they are perfectly safe to use. You have to make sure they have the lion head on, just like I have here. But if you're anywhere else in the world, you may want to use an egg white alternative. Use whatever is allowed in your country, but in the UK, this is how we make traditional royal icing. So in there, I've just got 1 egg white. I have 250 grams of icing sugar, but we won't be using all of this. And a bowl, again, this is cooled down boiled water just for hygiene reasons. The separate bowl there that's empty just because I want to put some royal icing to one side to turn a slightly different colour. So what do we need to do first? We need to beat this egg white. Now you don't want to beat it so it's more like a meringue. You just want to break it down slightly. I'm just using a basic handheld mixer to do this. And then once we have beaten it down slightly, we're going to start by adding the icing sugar gradually. All I'm going to do now is add some of the cooled down boiled water. This is just give me the right consistency that I need. Now, I need it quite drippy to drip down the cake. If you're piping something where it needs to pretty much stay as an outline straight away, then you wouldn't need to do this because you need it a lot thicker. Royal icing will keep in the fridge for a good 3 days. However, once the royal icing has set on your cakes, your cookies, your cupcakes, it will pretty much last indefinitely. So if you have any stored in the fridge, just make sure it is used within 3 days. It's like anything else. All this moisture will evaporate and it will set lovely. I have split that in between 2 bowls, and now it's time to add some food colouring. To the large bowl, I'm going to add the orange, and the smaller bowl, I will add the black off camera so I don't bore you to death. Now, the more food colouring that you need to use in royal icing, the longer it will take to set. The same in regards to the amount of water, because obviously there's more water there, there's more liquid that needs to evaporate. But just get your colours right. As you can see here, you just need to mix it in. And then all I'm going to do off camera is add these to 2 different disposable piping bags. So I'll have orange in one disposable and black in the other. Now, just like I mentioned before, I have actually stored this dummy in the fridge just because it's a very humid day and all of that fondant's going to go lovely and hard. But this is the same principle with your cakes. If you store them in the fridge, even though they're covered in buttercream, you will be able to physically remove them from the baking parchment, use your hands and place them on that decorated cake drum without leaving any finger marks in there whatsoever. Now we get to do the fun and effective part of this tutorial. So as you can see, my orange is placed in a disposable piping bag. Just cut off a very small amount on the end. Now I'm going to do my best to get all of this on camcorder for you. I am gently squeezing that bag. And then you just want to move, stop and squeeze again and just let gravity do the rest of the work for you. Again, moving across and squeeze. Do this for all of the edges of the cake first. That gravity will pull these drips down even further. You can stop, go back to a drip and add a little bit more if you don't think it's gone down far enough. But as you can see on the camcorder, the first drip is slowly working its way down. Just let gravity do all the work for you. Once you have done all of the edges, we're then going to completely flood the centre of the cake because that's the sort of consistency of the royal icing we have. It's a flooding consistency just before we add the perfect spiderweb effect. Now, taking your black royal icing, take your time doing this. You want to pipe a rough spiderweb kind of shape. This does not have to be perfect. It's a spiderweb. and we're going to be kind of distorting it as well with a great little effect that you can do with all royal icing techniques. So just do this inside each other and then I'll show you what to do next. Taking a cocktail stick, you want to start from the inside of your spider web and pull out. It's a very, very, very simple technique, but just look at how effective it is. You can add a little bit more black, which I will do to the centre once I have done all of this. You can add a little more black to the sides. Just get that spider web exactly how you want it. Ready to add any Halloween cake toppers or anything that you've made to the cake, ready for the Halloween celebrations. How effective does that look? Yeah, it was really, really simple to make. I've added a little bit more black. I have taken my time with that cocktail stick to create the perfect effect. To this you could add a spider as a cake topper, a pumpkin, a witch, anything you want. Happy Halloween everybody, and I hope I've helped you learn something new today. Hopefully you'll be using royal icing an awful lot more. Happy baking guys, I'll be back soon with more free content.